Now, my good friend Gishangi says he wants to replace my friend Karungo Dangwa. I wish you well. I know you have said that if I behave well, you might consider your vote for me in 2027. But Mr. Gishangi, I want to tell you that my focus is not in 2027. That's not my focus. My focus is in transforming Kenya. That is my focus. You know, there is always, a belief that we must focus on the next election. Good people, there is more than the next election. We need to do and make the right decisions for Kenya now. If we make decisions merely because we want to be popular, that's how we get ourselves into the kind of situation our country is. That's where we end with our universities in so much debt, because we are unable to make the decisions that will get our universities out of trouble.
Now that my wise colleague there said that we have so many bursary kits in different dockets, starting from the MCA up to the presidential, your office also has a bursary. I don't know if that is true, but you know it yourself. So if we can constitute it into one kit and make education completely free, or reduce the cost of programs, that will be very appropriate, and this model will work.
Why don't we consolidate all bursaries? The ones for the MCA, Member of Parliament, Women Rep, Governor. Somebody suggested that I have some bursary. I don't have, just for the record, I don't have any bursary kitty. In fact, when I was Minister for Higher Education, there was a bursary at the ministry. And that bursary used to benefit people who have connection. The CEO of Help then knows. I said that bursary should be transferred. It used to be 100 million shillings every year. I said that bursary should be transferred to Higher Education Loans Board. In fact, it is the money that began the capitation and scholarship for our TVET institutions. I agree with you that it's a positive proposition. It is something that we need to have a conversation about. It is something that I will engage governors about, because in our constitution, it is the counties. Once money has been given to the counties, I have no authority as president to decide for the counties. But I think a national conversation that consolidates all these bursaries, and then we see how far it can go towards making our education affordable, is a very positive conversation. I am ready to engage in that conversation and provide leadership in that conversation.
You find most people, the cluster point is high for the public universities. And yet, they will be, when they are going to apply, they will be placed in the private universities. And you have said you can't offer the scholarship. Right now, for me to pay the 19,000 that I'm paying in the private university I am, my parents are really struggling. That is for a fact. What if that parent of that student in the same case as mine, who is in a day school, is going to pay the same 80,000, 90,000? Will that student manage? That the student can't manage, because the cluster point for the public university are that high. So what are you going to do about the cluster point?
Cluster points for private and public universities, my small sister here, Karen, said that some of the cluster points for public universities are a bit high. So sometimes you end up in a private university, which I don't know whether you applied for or you did not. Maybe you did not apply for. And therefore, you end up in a situation where you are asked to pay more because this is a private university and there is no scholarship. All you can get is a loan. So how do we determine that? Do we have anybody from COOPS?
Because of the way clustering is done, sometimes you might want, a student may want a course in one university, but they are not able to get it because their cut-off points are lower. And that's why that question from the concerned lady was, she said that maybe she got a C+, but then she could not be able to get appropriate courses in public universities because maybe most of those courses then that she wanted, the cluster points were higher than what her cluster point was, and therefore she ended up in a private university. But for private university, again, Your Excellency, the student must have chosen to go to those universities. They are not just placed there. There's normally a box where you tick that maybe if you don't get this course in public universities, you are also willing to go to private universities. So there is always that choice. And I think, again, if the person would really want to come to public universities, there are still courses that are available that just require the minimum university entry, but they may not be courses of the prime courses that they wanted. But anybody wanting to go to public universities and they have a C+, Your Excellency, they will not be denied because the universities are there and there are programs that are linked to take them.
From the question that was asked was, how do we treat someone who has a lot of dependencies? And from the questions that an applicant is asked is, how many dependents do you have? And the main reason why you're required to give that particular response is so that the MTI can be able to calculate a per capita of that particular household before, which is going to be used as an input for determining your score, and which is going to be used as an input for your final score that determine where you will be banded. And maybe to just say something, Mr. President, as an addition to what you have said. They have indicated, or you have indicated, that there are 10 indicators that show, or that are used, or that work as a variable. There are actually 10 super variables that are used to determine your level of need. But in reality, with each super, there are several other sub-indicators. For example, a family structure, for instance, which is, it has a variable on, you have both parents, you have a single parent, which is a mother, a single parent, which is a father, all the way to someone who is an abandoned child in the street. And all of them are taken care of. So that when all these factors, from the general super variable to sub-variables, the MTI makes sure that you are classified correctly. The only challenge, my President, that we experience, because I was at least part of the team that analyzed the information, is the quality of information that our applicants provide for that particular system. This is a system that whatever comes out of it depends on what we input. So if we don't provide the correct information, then we're going to be banded wrongly. And because we are coming from a point that this is a new system, one of the recommendations that we gave to help and higher education was, please leave a room so that if there is anyone who may have submitted wrong information, can still re-provide an information that can be used for reconsideration. And that is why there is an open appeal for a fund, that if you have a different information from what you presented, you can re-provide and you can be reconsidered. And from the first information we've been given is within the next 3 weeks, that is going to be reconsidered. There's something else, again, Mr. President, that I would also wish to state. Is there's something on what if a situation changes in your course of your studies? How are you going to be taken care of? Let's say today you have both parents, and at the second year of your studies, something happens. Again, that is a factor that during our task force we considered and said, if a circumstance change, like your parents, guardian loses job, your parent loses job, you lose parents, you can re-provide the information that please reconsider my banding or my categorization so that I can have a space or be treated where I am supposed to.
I asked myself, now who sits back and decides that now this program is going to cost this much? Who? I think the Vice Chancellors and you know better. Do we have a fixed figure that should be the, hii lazima tu hii cost of hii program, for example, medicine should cost this much?
There is no benefit in assuming that this course costs so much just by assumption. It has to be calculated and it has to be determined scientifically. These are empirical figures. It is not somebody from the blues who says this course costs so much. There is a calculation of the input into the course. The vice chancellors here are with the leadership of the universities. They know how to determine how much which course costs. Can one of the vice chancellors help me with how you arrive at the cost of a course? Professor Odhiambo, again.
Thank you very much. When a student comes to university, say to do medicine or engineering, look at a course like Introduction to Electronic Engineering, then you'll have to put a teacher that is going to teach that course. And you'll have to compute how much you are going to pay that teacher, maybe within 45 or 50 hours. There will be a technologist, a technician. Again, you'll pay that person. There will be the need of equipment that are going to be used. You'll have to cost them. The students will go for practicum or practica. They'll go for industry experience, and the teachers will have to follow them. You have to cost all this. Of course, there are other things like the electricity and all the rest. Now, the sum total of this will inform you the cost of running that course. And that is how we get, now for that engineering, perhaps there are 15 units in a year or in a semester. So once you get all that, then you have the total cost. Maybe it comes to 280, maybe it comes to 612, maybe it comes to, like it is a financial mathematician who was there, maybe it comes to around 275,000 for financial engineering. That's how you get it, and that's what now become the cost of that program. Thank you, sir.